What if the most important lessons you learned didn't come from a classroom? What if wisdom arrived from the last place you expected, from someone society had completely overlooked? With Honors is about a Harvard student who loses his thesis, the culmination of years of work, and discovers it's in the hands of a homeless man living in the university's basement. To get his pages back, he has to provide food, shelter, and basic dignity to someone he would have walked past without a second glance. Released in 1994, this film asks uncomfortable questions about what education really means, about who deserves respect and care, and about the gap between academic achievement and actual wisdom about life. The setup sounds like a comedy, and there are funny moments. But underneath, this is a story about mortality, dignity, and discovering that the people we dismiss often have more to teach us than we realize. Welcome to Picture Mavericks. Today we're exploring what makes With Honors resonate beyond its premise, what it says about compassion and human connection, and why sometimes the most valuable education happens outside the curriculum. Let's begin. The film centers on Monty Kessler, a Harvard government major working obsessively on his thesis. He believes this paper will determine his future, that perfection here will open all the right doors. His entire identity is wrapped up in academic achievement. While making copies late one night, disaster strikes. His only copy of the thesis falls through a heating grate into the basement. When he goes searching for it, he meets Simon Wilder, a homeless man who's been living secretly in the building's boiler room. Simon has found the thesis. He's read some of it, and he's not impressed. More importantly, he's not just going to hand it back. He makes Monty a deal. One page for every favor. Food, clothing, shelter, whatever Simon needs. If Monty wants his thesis back, he has to take care of another human being. Monty is furious, but desperate. He agrees, bringing Simon food in exchange for pages. But he can't bring a homeless man into his apartment, so he sets Simon up in the shed outside. His roommates, Everett, Jeff, and Courtney, are shocked and resistant at first. Simon is unlike anyone they've encountered. He's educated, well-read, and opinionated. He challenges their assumptions about everything from literature to politics to how they're living their lives. He's also sick, though he hides the severity of his condition. As days pass, something shifts. The students start actually listening to Simon. They begin seeing him as a person rather than an inconvenience. Simon shares stories from his life, offers perspectives they've never considered, and pushes them to think beyond their narrow academic focus. Monty especially is changed by Simon's presence. His rigid focus on achievement starts loosening. His understanding of what matters begins expanding. He goes from seeing Simon as an obstacle to seeing him as a teacher offering lessons Harvard never covered. But Simon's health is deteriorating. What started as a transactional relationship becomes genuinely caring. The students have to confront that Simon is dying, that their time with him is limited, and that the connection they've formed matters more than any thesis ever could. With Honors explores what we value and why we value it. Monty starts the film believing his thesis is the most important thing in his life. It represents years of work, his academic identity, his future prospects. Losing it feels catastrophic because his entire sense of worth is tied to academic achievement. Simon forces him to consider whether that thesis actually matters as much as Monty thinks. Whether a perfect academic paper about government theory is more valuable than learning how to treat other humans with dignity. Whether professional success means anything if you're not a decent person. This speaks to how we often prioritize achievement over character, credentials over wisdom, resume building over relationship building. Monty is so focused on his future that he's not really living in his present. Simon, who has no future to speak of, lives more fully in each moment than the students do despite having everything ahead of them. The film also examines how we see homeless people. When we encounter someone living on the streets, we typically look away. We make assumptions about how they got there, about their intelligence or worth. We might feel guilt or discomfort, but we rarely see them as individuals with complex histories and valuable perspectives. Simon challenges every assumption the students have. He's educated and articulate. He's read extensively and thinks deeply. His homelessness doesn't define his intelligence or his humanity. The students have to confront their own prejudices about what homeless people are like. The film doesn't romanticize homelessness or suggest Simon chose this life happily. We learn he made mistakes, had regrets, experienced losses. But it does insist that his circumstances don't make him less deserving of respect, care, and dignity. The developing relationships between Simon and each student show different aspects of what he offers. He helps Everett think about political activism differently. He encourages Jeff to take risks. He connects with Courtney about beauty and art. He gives each of them something specific they needed without them realizing they needed it. For Monty specifically, Simon becomes the father figure he's been missing. Simon's tough love, his refusal to let Monty hide behind academic pretension, his insistence that Monty engage with real life. All of this shapes Monty in ways no professor could. The film also explores mortality and how awareness of death changes perspective. Simon knows he's dying. That knowledge makes him value each interaction, each conversation, each small kindness. The students, young and assuming they have unlimited time, waste their present worrying about their futures. Simon's eventual death forces them to confront loss and what we leave behind. His impact on them isn't measured in accomplishments or achievements, but in how he changed their understanding of what matters. The performances carry the emotional weight of the film. The actor playing Simon brings warmth and dignity to the character without making him a saint. Simon is prickly, difficult, and stubborn. He's also funny, insightful, and caring. The performance allows him to be fully human rather than a simplistic symbol of homeless wisdom. The young actors playing the students show genuine growth throughout the film. Monty's transformation from uptight, achievement-focused student to someone more open and compassionate feels earned rather than sudden. The supporting roommates each get moments to show their own changes. The chemistry between the cast makes the developing relationships believable. We see the initial resistance give way to curiosity, then respect, then genuine affection. These shifts feel natural rather than forced. The 101-minute runtime allows the story to develop without rushing. The film takes time showing the daily interactions between Simon and the students, the small moments that build connection. This pacing lets the emotional impact accumulate rather than hitting us over the head with sentiment. The script balances humor with heavier themes. Simon's witty observations and the students' reactions provide levity. The dynamics between roommates add comedy. But the film never undercuts the serious questions it's raising about compassion, dignity, and what education means. The Harvard setting matters because it represents a particular kind of privilege and ambition. These students have opportunities most people don't. They're on track for successful careers. Yet they're missing something essential that Simon, who has nothing material, can provide. The film doesn't pretend one homeless man can solve systemic problems. Simon's situation isn't fixed by the students' kindness. The film is honest about the limitations of individual charity while still arguing for the importance of individual compassion. The emotional climax surrounding Simon's death is handled with care. The film doesn't shy away from the sadness, but also celebrates what Simon brought to their lives. The grief feels genuine because the relationships have been established over the course of the film. With honors arrived in the mid-1990s when conversations about homelessness and social responsibility were particularly active. The film humanizes homelessness in ways that challenge viewers to see past stereotypes. By making Simon educated, articulate, and insightful, it forces acknowledgement that homeless people are individuals with their own stories, not a faceless social problem. This doesn't mean every homeless person is a secret scholar. But it does push back against the assumption that people living on the streets have nothing to offer, that they're less intelligent or valuable than housed people. For younger viewers, particularly students, the film offers a counter-narrative to achievement culture. Monty's obsession with his thesis represents how many students are taught to prioritize grades, credentials, and future success over everything else. Simon shows that life wisdom, emotional intelligence, and human connection matter just as much. The film also speaks to what we inherit from unexpected mentors. The people who shape us aren't always the ones we expect. Sometimes wisdom comes from sources we've been taught to dismiss. Being open to learning from anyone, regardless of their circumstances, enriches our understanding. The relationships between the students and Simon demonstrate that helping others isn't just about charity. It's about mutual enrichment. The students give Simon shelter and food, but Simon gives them perspective, wisdom, and challenges to their assumptions. Both sides benefit from the connection. The film's treatment of mortality adds weight. Simon's awareness that his time is limited makes every interaction matter. For young people who often feel invincible, watching someone face death with dignity and purpose can shift perspective about how to live. The Harvard setting also allows the film to critique institutional education. These students are receiving world-class formal education, but they're missing education about compassion, about real-world struggles, about human connection. Simon provides what the institution can't. So what does With Honors offer us? It offers a story about finding wisdom in unexpected places, about learning that the people society overlooks often have the most important lessons to teach. It challenges our assumptions about who deserves respect and what makes someone valuable. Monty's journey from seeing Simon as an obstacle to seeing him as a mentor represents growth many people need. Learning that achievement isn't everything, that academic success doesn't guarantee wisdom about life, that the relationships we build matter more than the credentials we accumulate. Simon's character, while specifically a homeless man, represents anyone we might dismiss based on circumstances or appearances. The film asks us to consider what we miss when we make snap judgments about people, when we let external situations determine how we treat others. The 101-minute runtime gives the relationships room to develop naturally. The film doesn't rush the connections or force emotional moments. It trusts that showing the daily interactions, the small kindnesses, the gradual shifts will create genuine emotional investment. The balance between humor and heartbreak keeps the film from becoming overly sentimental. Simon is funny and difficult, not a saint. The students are flawed and learning, not perfect. This honesty makes the emotional moments land harder because they feel earned. What makes With Honors resonate is its insistence that every person has inherent dignity regardless of circumstances. That homelessness doesn't erase someone's humanity, intelligence, or capacity to contribute. That we all benefit when we treat each other with basic respect and compassion. The film doesn't pretend that individual kindness solves systemic problems. Simon's homelessness isn't fixed by the students helping him. The structural issues that create homelessness remain. But the film argues that individual connections still matter, that treating people with dignity is important even when it doesn't solve everything. For viewers who felt caught up in achievement culture, the film offers permission to slow down and consider what really matters. For those who've struggled with seeing past someone's circumstances to their humanity, it provides a gentle challenge to do better. The thesis that Monty obsesses over becomes almost irrelevant by the film's end. What he learns from Simon, how he grows as a person, the relationships he builds, these things matter infinitely more than any academic paper. The film suggests this is true for all of us. Our achievements matter less than how we treat people. Simon's death reminds us that time is limited for everyone, that the moments we have with people matter, that putting off connection or compassion until we're less busy, until we've achieved our goals, until circumstances are perfect, means we might miss opportunities to know remarkable people. The film ends with Monty changed, with all the students changed, carrying forward what Simon taught them. His impact outlives him because he took the time to truly connect, to challenge them, to care about their growth as human beings beyond just their academic success. With Honors reminds us that education happens everywhere, not just in classrooms. That wisdom comes from lived experience as much as from books. That the people we least expect often have the most to teach us if we're humble enough to listen. It asks us to consider how we judge people, what assumptions we make, who we dismiss without really seeing. And it suggests that our lives become richer, our understanding deeper, when we stay open to learning from everyone we encounter. The image of a homeless man and Harvard students sharing meals, having conversations, building genuine friendship, challenges everything our society teaches about social divisions. It says those divisions are constructed and permeable. That connection across difference is not just possible, but valuable. And maybe that's what we need to hear. That the people society tells us to ignore might be exactly the people we need to know. That slowing down to help someone, to listen to them, to see them as fully human, enriches our own lives as much as theirs. This has been Picture Mavericks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.